the Australian Pavilion today, we're inviting you to join us to raise the roof, scaling rooftop solar backed by storage to cut energy bills, cut emissions, and grow people power across Asia, Pacific, and Australia. So we honour the traditional custodians of the lands and waters of this area, the Tupinamba and the Pakajars, and the leadership of First Nations people across Australia and the Pacific in protecting country and calling for a just and sustainable world. My name is Heidi Lee Douglas and I'm the CEO of Solar Citizens. Solar Citizens is an independent charity and movement builder representing millions of households leading the clean energy transition through rooftop solar and battery uptake. We work for an energy system where people can generate, store and share clean power and where policy reflects community leadership. Today we're launching our Raise the Roof campaign, supporting the Global Solar Council's call for 300 million solar rooftops worldwide. And we're releasing the COP30 Yellow Book. We're also, it's a roadmap showing how Australia became a rooftop solar leader and how we can double rooftop solar backed by storage by 2035. And we're also here to invite you to join a Rooftop Solar Alliance to build people power, solar citizen style movements in other nations. On stage with me today, I'm really happy to welcome leaders who are going to help shine a light on the global opportunity of rooftop solar. We've got Sonia Dunlop, CEO of the Global Solar Council, speaking on behalf of the 300 million solar homes by 2030 campaign. We've got John Grimes from the Global Solar Council and the Smart Energy Council in Australia. He's the chair-elect for the Global Solar Council, indeed. And he'll be talking on how industry and civil society can work together to accelerate clean, smart energy. And Andrew Birch, another director of the Global Solar Council, on the opportunities for rooftop solar across the Asia-Pacific. And my colleague, Charlie Roderick, will also be running through our COP30 Yellow Book. How's the sound out there? Can you hear me or is it too good? Okay, great. We're going to be using Slido. Oops. Okay, we're going to be using Slido for our Q&A. So if you scan the QR code, you can then upload a question and vote on each other's questions at the end. Australia urgently needs to wean itself off coal and gas. Our exported fossil fuels are responsible for around 4.5% of global emissions. But we're also a world leader in rooftop solar uptake per capita, with more than 4 million households and battery storage surging since the federal rebate began on July 1st, I should say. But to cut domestic fossil fuel use, we're calling on the Australian government to double rooftop solar backed by storage by 2035 and to help other countries transition away from relying on Australia's coal and gas. We're working to scale rooftop solar in other nations too. So large-scale renewables and transmission lines are increasingly facing community resistance. We need a fast and fair community-supported alternatives. Rooftop solar, household batteries, and orchestrated storage are exactly that. Cheap, proven, popular, and ready to scale now. To unpack the Yellow Book, I'm now going to hand over to our National Advocacy Lead, Charlie Roderick.
Thanks, Heidi. So Australia leads the world in rooftop solar uptake, as we know. Uptake began to increase in the 2000s, thanks to early government rebates and generous feed-in tariffs. And with a small-scale renewable energy scheme, or what we call the SRES, rooftop solar installations reached 1 million by 2013 and over 4 million today, a huge achievement. Since the 1st of July, more than 120,000 home batteries have been installed under the new federal cheaper home batteries rebate, representing the next chapter of Australia's people-powered clean energy transition. Now, it's important to note that most Australians choose to install solar panels and batteries for energy bill savings. In fact, some of the highest uptake is in our most politically conservative electorates. And this really shows that rooftop solar is a unifying, people-first emissions reduction solution. Now, we've had our successes, we've had our fair share of challenges too. So by 2020, high rooftop solar penetration created grid integration problems, voltage issues, and risk of curtailment when supply exceeded demand. Now, the solution to these problems is more home batteries, virtual power plants, and demand management. Another big challenge is how to get solar savings to the third of Australians who rent or live in apartments, myself included. And while we've made some progress in this area, we do still have a way to go. So our Raise the Roof initiative includes 3 key recommendations. We're going to unlock solar for renters, unlock solar for big roofs, and activate urban renewable energy zones. Let's start with renters. So currently there are over 3 million rental homes and apartments across the nation with a massive rooftop solar potential of 17 gigawatts, and that's mostly untapped. So we're calling for government incentives so that renters and landlords can share in the solar savings backed by minimum energy efficiency standards. Now, the second priority is unlocking solar for big roofs. We're calling on the federal government to commit to getting solar on 40% of commercial and industrial buildings by 2030 and 50% by 2035. We're also proposing urban renewable energy zones to create towns and cities that are more energy self-sufficient, where households and businesses can generate, store, and share renewable electricity. And if anyone's wondering what an urban renewable energy zone is, this is a little visualization. And finally, we're building on the success of the Cheaper Home Batteries program and raising the ambition to 1.8 million batteries by 2035. We need fairer VPPs and progress on vehicle-to-grid technology so that cars can be used as batteries on wheels. Together, these targets, policies, and technologies will cut energy bills and boost reliability. And you can scan the QR code to download the executive summary and the full yellow book, and we also have some physical copies here at the front. I'll hand back to Heidi. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie. So I'm going to introduce Sonia Dunlop, the CEO of the Global Solar Council. Sonia is at the forefront of delivering a new energy system to the world with solar and battery storage at its heart. So Sonia, why rooftop solar as a global strategy? How does it support the pledge to triple renewables?
I think the first reason is because we, as the Global Solar Council, as the Global Solar Industry Association for battery storage and solar PV, we really are passionate about making sure that our technology, really brings tangible benefits to individual, hard-working families and households all over the world. People who are working really hard, struggling to pay their bills, can now save money on their bills by taking energy into their own hands, taking power into their own hands, and going solar. And that's true in the global north and in the global south, in democracies and countries that are not yet democracies, people who are off-grid and on-grid. This is a universal solution to allow people to really take power into their own hands. And it's also, given that we're here at a COP, a way of translating the lofty goals of the Paris Agreement, the lofty goals of the tripling of renewables target, into something that really brings tangible benefits to people, real people all over the world. There's something in it for them, right? And it's a completely different, it's a transformational way of generating energy, and that is why we, as the Global Solar Council, together with all of our members, partners, solar citizens, are supporting the Rooftop Pledge in Australia and are launching this big campaign to get to 300 million solar and battery storage homes by the end of this decade. That's 1 in every 8 households. That's going to deliver 2 terawatts of total installed capacity, and above all, will help real, hard-working families all over the world, from Karachi to Lagos to Durban to Adelaide to here in Belém, really just bring down their energy bills and gain resilience and adapt to climate impacts. Because a house that has solar on it is a house, and battery storage in the basement is a house that's more resilient to climate impacts, and that is also really important here at this COP.
And Sonia, what challenges are you seeing globally, and where are nations succeeding?
Yeah, so one of the big challenges is essentially a question of electricity market design, and Bertie and us have been working together really closely on this. In many countries around the world, the power system was designed in the 50s and 60s for centralized thermal generation. And the rules of the different markets, the wholesale market, the services markets to the grid, voltage, frequency, reactive power, black start, are designed for those big power stations. But in this report that we wrote together with our members, we came up with 29 things that any government in the world, any energy regulator in the world can do to reform those markets and make it possible for the solar on your roof and the battery storage in your basement to play in those markets and gain revenue, make money out of providing that flexibility to the system. And that is what we need as the #1 catalyzing factor to make this happen.
Great, thank you so much, Sonia. And we're going to have time for questions at the end. So if you've got a question for Sonia, use Slido. But we're going to move to John Grimes now. So John is a bold and fearless advocate for the clean energy industry in Australia, but now worldwide. So thank you, John, for joining us, representing the Smart Energy Council and the Global Solar Council today. Smart Energy Council and Solar Citizens have had complementary voices in the lead up to the federal battery rebate win. And indeed, we've both been working on that for many years. So I wanted for you to unpack for our audience today how industry groups and movement builders like ours can work in harmony together for shared goals.
Thank you, Heidi, and fantastic to be here today. Let me start with the story. I attended my first COP in Dubai, actually, and it was really interesting. On the night of the Saturday, so after the first week, something extraordinary happened out in the plaza. There was a spontaneous outpouring of emotion because there were young people, there were people from indigenous groups, there were people from the environmental movement who felt that they had not been heard. It was a spontaneous expression of pent-up emotion. People had come to engage in the COP process and felt that it wasn't a fully cathartic experience. They had so much left to say. And this is the power that we're seeing in communities right around the world. There is a spontaneous depth of support for the transition which is profound and which is unstoppable. And it comes from the bottom up. It comes from ordinary people in their ordinary lives crying out for real action. And what I've seen in Australia is the solar citizens experience. It was a self-led movement that actually came from that wellspring where people want to actually see change. They know that they can take personal responsibility and transition themselves, but they can encourage their neighbours and their communities and their nations to take meaningful action. Friends, this is our superpower. On the other side, there are vested interests in the big fossil fuel companies who are determined to frustrate and stop and slow down the transition. We need to then harness the power of people because that is the antidote. In communities around the world, regardless of their system of government, if a majority of the population wants to see an outcome, then governments must respond, and they don't respond at their peril. And so I've seen how successful, how powerful, how potent that has been in an Australian context. We can take this model and we can seed it through communities right around the world. So if we can, industry, government, environment movement, community working together, if we can help seed and help harness that, it's all to the better. Let me also say, watching a very contested debate in Australia over the last 15 years or so, what we need to see is communities who back in when there is positive action. Stand up and say, actually, because this is like, and for those who are not from rugby playing countries, apologies, but this is like a game of rugby. You see the two sides, the brutish sides that push hard against each other. You make a little bit of ground and then you consolidate the ground, and then you push again and you make a bit more ground and then you consolidate the ground. You're not going to score a try on every play. That's not how the game works. Well, that's not how this process works either. So we need the mass of people to consolidate the win, to back in the governments who actually take positive action, to say in Australia, the cheaper home battery program will change Australia and will change the world. Because it is that power that we need as the antidote to those who stand against us. So Heidi, I think that what Solar Citizens does in Australia is a credit to you and to your organisation. And the lesson we need to take is we need to see this same movement in jurisdictions right around the world. It's a wellspring of goodwill just waiting to pop through and to advocate on our behalf. We need to seed it, guide it, nurture it, and ultimately ride the power of it through the energy transition globally.
Thank you. That was really inspiring, John. And I think with Solar Citizens, we talk mostly about cost of living rather than carbon emissions reductions. And that's just such a great unifier across the political spectrum. And in fact, indeed, in Australia, many homes in the most conservative electorates have got more than 60% rooftop solar uptake. So it really transcends all political persuasions. So Andrew, I'm going to come to you to talk about the opportunities for rooftop solar in the Asia Pacific area. We want to spread this rooftop solar revolution to the Asia Pacific. What are you seeing as those opportunities?
So I'd start by echoing just the people power aspect of this. So, there's so much, there's just a lack of ability for your average consumer, your average person in the community to take action against climate. And what Rooftop really brings is it gives you that action. It gives you the ability to save money, take control of your own destiny. And to give you some numbers today, in Australia, we're generating rooftop solar electricity at about 5 cents per kilowatt hour. That's saving you sort of 75% or more on your energy bill. I just got back from India last week, and you're about half that cost. So an Indian consumer today can take action and reduce their energy bill substantially with a 2 to 3 year payback. Businesses today in Australia and in India can have a payback under 2 years. So this is fundamentally, to me, about people power and economics, lowering the cost of energy. In addition to that, it's really about resilience as well. So, in a system that is going to be powered by sunshine, as solar is the lowest cost energy solution globally, it expands and takes higher and higher share. Especially in Asia, what you're going to see is the need for distributed rooftop solar and batteries in order to have a technically sustainable, resilient system. So it's that combination of rooftop economics for the consumer, people power, political power that comes from that, and then resilience at the system level that you need. You need a good amount of distributed energy in those markets. Globally, about 40% of all solar deployed today is distributed. And in Asia, that we need policies and mechanisms to really get to seed the first growth of consumer solar, as the Australians did really well, so that we get that kickoff point, get scale in the market, and ultimately we get, with batteries, the sustainable, low-cost, best outcome for Asian markets.
So thank you, Andrew. So with your company, Open Solar, works with 30,000 solar professionals around the world. So why do you think rooftop solar has so far been overlooked by the decision makers in COPs? And do you think it's now its moment to shine?
Yeah, I think, so it's not just an energy transition, it's sort of a political transition as well, and a system transition. As I think the other panelists said earlier, we've been in a system of centralized energy for a couple of hundred years, and so the political system's used to going to big companies and saying, what are the big solutions to things we're trying to solve? So we need to migrate from getting big companies with big power plants to creating systems systems where lots and lots of individuals and small businesses can take action to initiate the climate change solution. And so what the policies change from, they change from being sort of subsidies and big government projects to market enablers. So the Global Solar Council has been doing some really good work, not just on the grid format, also in policy mechanisms to create the pricing and monetary incentives for small businesses and homeowners to take up solar. So right now, if you're not able to access the value that you're creating on the grid, you have less incentive to do it. If you put a battery in, you're basically shifting power, you're smoothing the load on a grid, which can save grids billions of dollars of infrastructure spend. But if you're not getting paid for that, you're not going to take action. So market mechanisms that pay consumers to take actions will accelerate the energy transition. That's one of the key policies that we need.
Okay, great. So we're going to talk a little bit now about the Rooftop Solar Alliance. So I can feel some of you in the room are super keen to take part in the Rooftop Solar revolution. So if you would like to be part of our Rooftop Solar Alliance, we're calling on people from organizations across the Asia Pacific to work with us over the next 12 months to bring home a really clear ask at COP31 for rooftop solar pledges in at least 4 nations as well as Australia. So five key nations. I think the Global Solar Council is aiming for 10, but we're wanting to help in our region to secure 5, to really put pressure on the Australian government, which helps us as Australians, but also to spread this rooftop solar revolution around the Asia Pacific and bring those cost of living benefits to more people quickly. So a little bit about us and how we work. So Solar Citizens, we are a campaigning organisation. We identify policy gaps with industry and with our supporters as well. So we are really direct facing. We have 200,000 supporters around Australia. We survey them every year. They tell us what they need in the energy transition. So for home batteries, for instance, we kept hearing over and over again that they needed a $3,000 to $4,000 subsidy to be able to afford a home battery. So that helped us shape the policy ask that we had to government, which I think was similar to the industry ask, basically. And we worked behind the scenes to make sure that those asks were aligned. But we also mobilise our thousands of supporters through digital actions. So we send letters to MPs, we do petitions, we do lobbying in Parliament. We take action every week, basically, to key pressure points to reach our objectives. We also do grassroots community events as well. So we do stalls in strategic locations. We do pilots like the Electrify Walleye Creek pilot, where we're doing a high-rise electrification retrofit project to really work out what are the problems and the solutions with people, grassroots, and in real-life experiences. And we also do a lot of media work as well. So all of that shapes a direct advocacy to media and to help change the story and to respond in a positive or negative way around the things like the solar share offer that came out a few weeks ago. We really jumped on that and backed the government in on that because we felt that that was a great solution to some of the energy equity issues that we're working towards for solar for renters. But also we have a secret superpower, and it is fun. So it is FUN. We love to have fun, and we love to make complicated, wonky energy policies approachable, accessible for the community. So we have a series of mascots that help us do this. And there's been a whole romance between these two. They had a meet cute under Sydney Harbour Bridge during the federal election campaign. They fell in love. They got engaged at the Smart Energy Council conference, indeed, and they got married on the day that the federal home battery rebate came into effect. So we have a short film around that. We won't be showing that now, but it's on our YouTube site. So it's a whole story, and they now appear in a Christmas campaign that we've got, which is All I Want for Christmas is Solar for Renters. So yeah, Miss Solar Panel has a lot of tinsel for that shoot, and that will be coming out soon. So we have a lot of fun, and our theory of change is really simple. If we build public power and political pressure around rooftop solar and storage, governments will commit to ambitious targets because it delivers cost of living relief and climate action. So, who's with us and who wants to sign up to the Rooftop Solar Pledge campaign? If your organisation or delegation wants to help drive rooftop solar by COP31, join our Rooftop Solar Alliance, sign the Rooftop Solar Pledge petition. There's some cards up here with a QR code, and connect with us afterwards. We would love to work with you. But now it's over to you. We've got some questions for our panel. So for Andrew, is household rooftop solar a better or more cost-effective solution around the world than commercial solar?
So it depends country by country. In a lot of places around the world, you have what's called accelerated depreciation as a commercial owner. So that creates more economics than just the value of the energy. But typically, you have higher rates for retail homeowner users. So the economics are actually usually, on the whole, better for homeowners. But basically, for both homeowners and commercial systems today, commercial users, solar is very much the lowest cost answer for you. And that's what's powering the revolution at the heart, is people power combined with saving energy.
And for Sonia, how long does it typically take for a country to get from 0 to 100 when it comes to rooftop solar uptake?
I mean, look at Pakistan. In Pakistan, it took literally months to go from 0 to 17 gigawatts of rooftop solar in 1 year. People climbing up onto their own roofs, watching a video on TikTok, putting some panels on their roof, putting a battery storage unit in their living room. Remember, the single mother in Karachi, Farida Salim, who scraped together $600 by selling her jewelry, selling her gold, borrowing some money from family to be able to buy 2 solar panels and a battery storage unit for her 3 kids, 2 of them disabled, to keep going through the heat of the summer, to keep the fan going, to get away from the high electricity prices. This can move really fast. In Pakistan, maybe soon in Nigeria, maybe soon in other countries around the world, this can move really fast, and it's that speed that is one of our major advantages.
And for John, what do you think were the key turning points for Australia for solar and then batteries, and how do we replicate this abroad?
I think for Australia, like for many other jurisdictions, it's about money. It's about cost of living. It's about electricity savings. It's also about control. So, people like the idea that they're taking the power back from the big power companies, frankly. And so that has been the unifying factor. Regardless of political persuasion, almost regardless of where you live, it's been a cost of living story. And I think that translates, and that's the same driver that we're seeing in other jurisdictions. So that's the powerful thing.
If I can add, your solar for renters part of your pledge is so important. And there are so many good examples of this around the world. In Germany, they came up with tenant electricity, allowing you to put solar on the roof of an apartment building and share it amongst the flats in the building. In the US, they do third-party rooftop solar leasing, where a third-party company comes and put the solar on the roof of the house, sells you the power inside to the people who live indoors. And in Germany, again, they've pioneered balcony solar, where people can just put a panel or 2 on their balcony, hang it outside their window, and plug it into their electricity socket. And that is what we need to do to really make sure we bring solar to everyone, and not just to the owner-occupiers and middle-class households of suburbia.
So there is a question from the audience which I'll take, which is for what do you think is needed to spark a similar citizen-led solar movement in other countries around the Asia Pacific? I mean, I think the number one thing is you need to know the cost-benefit equation, how much money you're going to save each year, and then to get that in the ear of your consumers, your residents, and also to your politicians. There was a lovely point made yesterday about a rooftop solar presidency, and that the power to get elected through the savings that rooftop solar can offer. So I would say that is a really key thing to narrow in on. If you've got an electoral window coming up, how can you get a political party to commit to rooftop solar savings and get that message out into the community that this is going to give them a tangible financial benefit to support a party that also will bring in those policies to bring in solar saving. So I think for me that's the key kind of movement building story piece that we've been working with, and I think really is translatable to any jurisdiction. So that kind of almost draws us to a close, but we've got a very special guest coming on, a special enthusiastic supporter who's come all the way from Australia in a yellow suitcase. So he'll be around to take some photos with the panel at the end and with you. And we'd love you to share these on your social media, sign the Rooftop Solar Pledge. And here we've got Sunny, who's what our legacy mascot. Sunny's been around for more than a decade. He's looking pretty good considering, and he's come all the way with us from Australia to shine a light on rooftop solar and the positivity and joy that that really brings to people's lives. So thank you all for making time to come today. Let's come up to the stage. Great idea, John, for a photo. Thank you.
Just go to just outside the exit of the blue zone.